Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Test Engineering Lab. So this is the third tutorial we have in the series of Agile, methodologies. So the topics that we are going to cover as a part of this tutorial is what do you mean by backlogs and what is the definition of ready and done considering Agile or the sprints. Okay, so you know product backlog is actually like there are some characteristics that it has. So it is detailed, it has estimations done, so it is emergent because the changes do happen based on the current status of the project and prioritized. So whatever user stories are there in backlog, they are prioritized as per the business needs. Now, we do see here that there is a sentence that says groom user stories in backlog for future sprints. So, because we did not discuss this terminology, so grooming sessions are the sessions that are conducted by business analysts. So, whatever the user story that they have written to explain a product requirement, they include the development and test engineering team in that call. And what they do is they explain what that user story is and what are the things we're going to cover as a part of that user story. So those sessions are referred to as grooming sessions, wherein the developers and the testing team come up with the doubts they have regarding that user story. They get the clarity on how things are going to look like, or what are the areas that are impacted as a part of that user story. So that session, when the user story is explained by the business analyst to teams, is called as a grooming session. So as we had mentioned, based on the complexity and efforts needed in the user story, the estimation is done and the pointers are given. So even that happens in the grooming sessions. Okay, so these are basically the characteristics that are there for product backlog, and they possess all these things. Okay, so what do we mean by product backlog? So product backlog is generally created by the business analysts or product owners, and they have a grooming session and they take a look at backlog. So what they do is, in general, as and when they have business requirements, they keep on writing the user stories and they keep it in backlog. So they you know before planning of a sprint takes place, what they do is they take a look at the backlog that is there. They analyze what all stories we have in the backlog. If there is anything that is no longer applicable or something that is irrelevant, they remove those stories. And whatever the user stories that are important and critical from business perspective, they prioritize those user stories, and then those user stories are pulled from backlog into the sprints. So this is how it happens actually. So benefits, if you see, that what they do is they ensure that the backlog remains populated with relevant, detailed and estimated in correct priority. So backlog is a dynamic body of information. Not all user stories need to be broken down, and important to have a sufficient number of stories ready for scheduling in next few iterations. So that is how the backlog is in Agile. Now, what do we mean by ready? So, a user story that is ready, that means it has been prioritized, it has been estimated, it is independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. The user story has the acceptance criteria clearly defined within it. So there are no assumptions involved. Everything has been clearly defined. The workflow is understood by the team, and of course, the UI UX aspects of that user story have been documented and clearly specified. So delivery team confidently estimates the user story. So all this, when it is done, that time we can say that the user story is ready. And when we so all these things have been explained here. Now, definition of done, what do we mean by done is, as I had mentioned earlier, that when a user story is worked upon by the teams, what they do is there are tasks for individuals who are working on that user story. From development teams aspect, they have the front end development, any back end or API work that is involved. and so on. There are many things that the dev team may work on. And for testing, they do analysis, they write the test cases, they make the automation scripts, they execute the scripts. So all those are the tasks that are there in a user story. So all those should be completed. Of course, the test cases and execution of them should be completed. Code should be unit tested. Everything should be done. So story has to be presented to and accepted by product owner. Okay. And even if there are some issues or defects identified by the testing team, so those issues should not be very critical. They should be of a very low severity, and the priority should not be one or two for the open defects that we have. So when all these criteria, or when all these things are met, that's when we see that the user story has been done or completed. So basically, to give a summary of what we have seen is backlog has nothing but the user stories that were written as a part of requirements by BAs. What they do is they prioritize as per the business needs the user stories, and they make sure that the content is more relevant to what the implementation is at that particular moment. So all the like the important user stories are pulled in sprints based on the priorities by the BAs. So that's what we mean by backlog. Okay, and we call it a product backlog or whatever backlog we want. And you know once, now that we have seen backlog, we've also seen what do we mean by ready and done. So ready is basically a user story that has a clear understanding by testing and development team, has a well defined acceptance criteria, has the estimation done, and it has been prioritized. Okay, so all those things, when they are met, that user story is ready. And the done user story is the one which has com- which has all the QA and dev tasks completed that are involved in it. The testing is complete. It has been accepted by the BAs. So when that is all met, that's when we call that the user story is done. Okay, so that's all we have from this tutorial. In the next one, we are going to take a look at what do we mean by the Agile framework and how it looks like, and we'll also see what do we mean by Scrum framework, or how the structure of that is. And once that is done, we'll be completing with a series of Agile methodologies, and we will continue with our manual testing concepts. Okay, thanks everyone.